Welcome to Casey Cares. We're the voice of Kansas City nonprofits. We share the stories of local nonprofits and the individuals who drive them. At Casey Cares, we like to connect the nonprofit and profit communities, trying to make Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play for both our residents and our visitors. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, www.kauffman.org. My name's Ruth Baum-Biggis. There are so many incredible nonprofits here in Kansas City working to support cancer patients and their families. Today, we're spotlighting one that grew out of a deeply personal journey, Infinity Susanna Smiles. Susanna was the youngest of 8 kids in her family and the sister of our guest today, Mark Wernsman. She was full of life, married to her high school sweetheart, a proud mom of 4, and living life to the fullest. Then, at just the young age of 44, what started as back pain led to a devastating diagnosis, stage 4 kidney cancer. After a 9-month battle, Susanna passed away, and her family was left not only with heartbreak, but also financial challenges that many families face when dealing with serious illness. To honor Susanna's life and to help others walking that same difficult road, Mark and his family founded Infinity Susanna Smiles. Its mission is simple but powerful: to support families with children who are facing financial hardship after parents' critical illness or loss. Mark joins us today to share his sister's story and how her legacy continues to bring hope and healing to others. Mark, welcome to Casey Cares. We're so honored to have you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me, and I appreciate what you do for Kansas City as well.
Oh, thank you. Tell us about Susanna. I don't think I did it justice there, but share with us about her.
Yeah, so Susanna, tell a little bit in the process about my family as well, but there are 8 of us. So there's actually 8 siblings. So there's 5 girls and 3 boys, and Susanna was the youngest, the baby. I was the second to youngest, and grew up in a large family, very close family over the years. So we're always busy, right? There was always something going on in a large family like that. So great growing up in that way. But like I said, we were a close family. So obviously, like you mentioned, we were devastated when Susanna, our youngest, was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer, and she had, husband, happily married to her high school sweetheart, like you mentioned. She had 4 kids between the ages of 9 and 16 when she went through that diagnosis and through her battle. But, a little bit about Susanna was, great sister, great wife to her husband, Brooks, a great mom. Her kids always came first. She was always, a funny, light-hearted personality, but also the life of the party as well. Strong female, great personality, beautiful inside and out, really cared for people. So when she did pass, and we can talk a little bit about that process, but when she did pass, we really felt obligated. I felt like I really wanted to continue her name. And I think that's what's been great about it is, even though we went through a grieving process when we lost her, it's given us the ability to continue to talk about her and continue to talk about her story, which has been great.
I know cancer is such a tough thing, and there are a variety of cancers, full disclosure, but to get that kind of a, diagnosis, and she sought help and support. So it sounds in some ways the system kind of let her down for a while. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so she was experiencing symptoms along the way and some back pain that just continually got worse, and didn't necessarily find it for a while, obviously, until it was, in its stage 4 process. So when she did find out, it was at a stage to where even though she fought it, like she's a fighter, like I am just so amazed at the strength she had. I mean, if we all try to put ourselves in that situation to be 44 with 4 kids in, the middle of her life, and for her to have that diagnosis, I mean, it was inspiring to see how she carried herself, how she didn't get down on herself. It was more just like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go after this. We're going to fight this. And so she went after it with her treatment, and everything she did. And even from her faith, like she strengthened my faith just to see, everything that she went through and how she spoke about what was happening in her life. But through the process, it did metastasize and it moved to her lungs and her
Mm.
spine. Obviously painful along the way, but like I said, inspiring for those 9 months that she battled cancer. And then unfortunately, it was August of 2021 when she had passed.
And it's not inexpensive to fight cancer as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we saw. I mean, honestly, that's where the motivation came from is we saw financially how difficult of a situation it was, not only during those 9 months, not only financially, but emotionally, but also afterwards. Like there were bills to be paid, obviously.
Mhm.
And so she tried to fight cancer in traditional and non-traditional ways. Obviously, that all costs money. She still had her bills, mortgage. Her kids were in private education. She admitted to me during those 9 months that, they probably hadn't done a great job of estate planning, which who does, in their 40s, and no one's
Mhm.
ready for it financially for something like this to happen. And so we all saw that, we all witnessed that, helped, as much as we could. But
Sure.
then afterwards, after we kind of got through a little piece of the grieving process, I think that's where the calling and the mission came from was obviously if we think of people we know that have something terrible like this happen to them and have this kind of critical illness or maybe a loss of a parent, that they are really impacted by it financially. And so, that kind of leads to the mission part of it too, is we wanted to find families in similar situations where they had school age kids living at home and they had this type of a diagnosis and they just need they just need some help. And
Right.
honestly, we provide that help financially. We provide a little bit of hope, is what I've learned through the process, as well. So that's kind of where it originated from.
I can't imagine losing a sibling uh, to such a, it's a horrible disease. And in that grieving period, as you said, you were close. I mean, it just is challenging. So
Mm.
she passes away, and all of you try to cope with this big hole in your heart and in your family. Walk us through a little bit how you decided, well, okay, we're going to try to do something. And how did you go about doing that?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, first, just on the grieving process, like I have lost both my parents over the years, but when you lose a sister at that age, like I went through a grieving process, and this isn't about me, but I think it's important for us to talk about it for a second. Like grief is a real thing. Like I started to research grief because I just felt, I mean, it just hit me harder than anything's ever hit. And so if you can kind of imagine, families going through a similar type thing. I mean, a spouse, that's going through it, having someone that they can reach out to for some support and some help, we've learned is a powerful thing. And so we had talked about it for a while. And like I said, I have several, many siblings, and we kind of talked through it a little bit. And it was really in probably late 2022, so probably a little over a year after she had passed, that we had decided that this would be a great thing to carry on her name, but also to help families in the Kansas City area going through a similar type thing. So we started putting it together in 2023. So I was the president and chairman of the board essentially, and we put together a board of 7 people. And keep in mind, like I have no nonprofit experience. My family doesn't have any nonprofit experience. So full disclosure, like we're feeling our way through this along the way. So if any listeners have some advice for us along the way, like we are all ears. This is by no means something that we have a history of, but I think it also shows that we've had some success in a short period of time as well, just from the creating relationships, having the passion, having the mission, having great volunteers along the way. But so we put together a board of 7. So my sister Karen was one of them. We wanted to have at least 2 board members that were part of
Sure.
the immediate family. So my sister and I, which she's the third to the youngest. So it's we were kind of
Okay.
like the 3 little ones growing up. It was Karen, and then it was me, and then my youngest sister Susanna.
Three
So
Musketeers.
that's right. So we're always the 3 little ones. And So my sister's on the board, and then we have, a family friend who's an accountant, Michelle Spilker. I'll just give some call outs if that's all right as we go along.
That's perfectly fine.
And then we have an attorney on the board as well. He's Paul Torlina. And so they both are, known Susanna along the way in her life at different phases of her life. So they were very much wanting to be a part of the mission and the journey. And then we had three others join originally. Jennifer Nusback, which, she has a lot of nonprofit experience, and so
Yes,
does a
she
couple
does.
in here.
She's
So
Parade of Hearts, right?
she was
Isn't she
Parade of
the
Hearts.
impetus behind that?
That's
So
right. So she was the one, honestly, that guided us a lot. Like, we needed to have some support since we didn't have any nonprofit. And then Kathy Grody and Jeannie Ray Flattery was a couple that Susanna had known. Her kids had grown up with, and they knew her very well. And so along the way, like, even Jennifer, even though she's very big in nonprofit and very busy, like, it was never a, hey, come on the board forever. It was more of like, join us, help us get this set up. And, so grateful for her. So she was on the board for like a year and a half. And then that was always the plan to kind of get us started. And so then we've brought somebody else in to replace her. So her name's May Spencer. She does have nonprofit experience, but she didn't know Susanna. And that's okay. Like, as this expands, that's what we're wanting to is, most people, when we started it, knew Susanna somewhere along her life. But as we moved forward, like, that's okay. We want to find people that are inspired by the mission and what we're trying to accomplish and carry ourselves with high integrity. Like, all that is very important to me as we put this together. And then, Jeannie, she has a lot going on professionally. These are all very busy and professional people.
right.
So she's taking a leave of absence. And so we had somebody else, one of our volunteers, Colleen Hotop, that jumped in and is taking that board seat for now. So there's always movement in it. But I tell you all that because it was never with this nonprofit. Like, we want people to get out more than what they put in. And this isn't about looking to spend, everyone has lives, everyone's busy. But if
Right.
we're going to get this to be sustainable, we need to make sure that it fits into people's lives and that we ask for volunteers that can give some, but we don't want to ask too much from them. So there's that fine line in my mind between all of that to make sure that it's sustainable.
We're talking with Mark Wernsman. He is the brother and the president of Infinity Susanna Smiles, and they're helping families, children at home with a parent who is dealing with cancer. You did a lot of things absolutely right. Kudos to you, saying that you didn't know much about nonprofits. You got the right, kind of folks on the board. I think what's always a little challenging is just getting that 501c3 status. So whether you purposely did it, you did all the right stuff to get it going down the road. So let's talk about what you're doing, what you're offering, how do you find people, etc.
Yeah. Well, so let me talk a little bit about what we do to give a little more detail into that, and then we'll kind of go
Sure.
into how we have it set up. But so like I said, we were incorporated in 2023. It was under Susanna Smiles is kind of originally what we had started with for the name. We wanted to make sure we had Susanna's name in there. And really that name came from her husband, Brooks. She's talking about how she loved her smile and was always smiling, which is so true. Pictures you see of Susanna has a great smile. So that's kind of where it came from, was Susanna Smiles. And then after we had incorporated in that, we ended up also adding Infinity at the beginning of it. And it just honestly, to me, felt like that word was missing in the name, because during that 9 months when my sister was battling cancer before she had passed, she gave all of the family Infinity bracelets. And she talked about during that time, the most important thing is your faith and your family. Sorry.
Okay.
Still gets me when I think about it. Is your faith and your family. And so she taught us so much that that's forever. Faith and family is forever. And that's what the infinity symbol symbolized, essentially. So I really felt like I needed to get the name in there. So that's kind of where that kind of came into kind of a DBA standpoint. But during that 9 months, she also asked us to all get tattoos, which is, for people that know me, that's not like, what? You have a tattoo? Like, that's not really my thing. But for her, we're like, absolutely. And so we ended up getting an infinity symbol, tattooed on all the eight siblings, essentially, the seven of us, essentially. Susanna obviously couldn't do it during her treatment phase, but we have a picture of that on our website to where we had gotten the infinity. And then there's eight kids. So we put, my oldest sister was one of eight. So she put one in eight, one of eight in that infinity, those infinity rings, essentially. And then I was second to youngest, so I was seven of eight. And then for Susanna, we kind of drew a tattoo on her for that purpose, took a picture and put it on the website. So you'll see that. So people sometimes ask, why do we have the word infinity in there? And that's where that came from. The other message that she gave me during that time, which I'll never forget, is her statement that she would put on certain pieces of paper that she would give us. And it said, all you need is hope and strength, hope that it will get better, strength to hold on until it does. And I think that's really important. I put that statement on all of our agendas for the board members every month, because I think that's what we're providing to people, is a little bit of hope, a little bit of strength to hold on until their diagnosis improves. So that's a little bit about, yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing this, and what are you doing? How do you find the families, and how are you able to support them?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So we, the mission is to support families with school-age kids, like we mentioned, facing hardship. And so we have four pillars, health and wellness, child prosperity, essential needs, education. Those are the four pillars that we use on where we use the money to help people. So we have a selection committee. So aside from our 7 board members, we also have a volunteer group of our selection committee. And so there are 6 people on there. Colleen Hotop is the one that leads that group. But we, and also Brooks, Susanna's husband, is on that selection committee as well. So he's a big part of it. But we have applicants online fill out an application. There's some demographics on there. It asks them a little bit about their illness, their medical treatment, the age of their kids that they have at home, and what their greatest needs are. We also ask who referred them to us. So before, at the beginning, it was a lot about word of mouth, but now it's kind of gotten to where applicants hear about us from some of the hospitals in the area. So KU Med and Shawnee Mission, and they figure out, like the social workers there figure out who could use assistance and who kind of meets our qualifications, and they're the ones that kind of encourage them to reach out to our website. But so the committee looks into the people that apply, just make sure they're real people and that their story matches. And we want to make sure that the money that people donate goes to the right places. And so we feel like it's our job to vet the families as well, to make sure that the money goes where it's intended to go. We tell them about Infinity Susanna Smiles, about the mission, which obviously typically connects with them and things that they're going through. Like I mentioned, the qualifications are, to be in the Kansas City area. That's where we are for right now, that we want to make sure we're supporting the local community. They have kids living in the home, a little bit about their illness that they're going through. And then we ask them, how can we help? So what expenses can we help to pay to reduce the financial stress so that they can focus on their health and for them getting better? And so most of the time it goes to paying some of their mortgage. It goes to some car payments, obviously medical bills that they have. But, we've also had instances where what they could use was paying for lunch accounts for their kids in school, or
yeah, that adds up.
yeah, or tuition, or we've had some car repairs, some mental health appointments, even extracurricular activities for their kids, because we want them to have, that's what my sister taught me. Like all she wanted was her kids to have a normal life when she was going through this stuff. And so that's what we want to, that's what they want help with. And that's what we give them help with. I'll also give a shout out to our selection committee, because they've also found some donations that companies were willing to give. So that might be a car repair. I think Subaru was willing to give to fix one of our applicants' cars for free. We had someone donate a homecoming dress, a shop. We had somebody give some dental work that they needed, some orthodontic care. So I think that's the other thing of those, if people are out there listening and they have a company and say, you know what, we'll donate some of our services, to applicants that may need something. I know Brooks went out and had a football signed by somebody famous that one of the kids was a really big, Chiefs fan, for instance. So it's not only financial. We try to do as much as we can to help them. I think it's also important for you to know that the selection committee gets together and it's all a blind process. So Colleen is really the only one that knows the family name. She makes it to where it's a blind story to the selection committee, and then the selection committee comes up with, some dollar amounts that they would help and where they go, and then they provide us a recommendation to the board. Again, it's blinded, and then we make our selection that way. And then the other thing I'll mention that's important to know about what we do is, the families then contacted, mentioned about their approvals. We ask for their bills and their invoices, and then we actually make the payments directly to the companies where the bills come from. So it's a longer process. It's more involved to do it, but I think it's important because I want to be able to tell the people that donate money to this cause where it's going. And it's not just, we could have done it where it's kind of a check that goes to the family and they decide where to put it. But I feel like it's a little more impactful and pointed, and people know that their money is being used directly to help today people's
Right.
bills when they're going through this kind of illness in their family.
So how does someone apply? Do they go to your website, and you can please give that?
Yeah, it's really just going to our website. So it's infinityss4.org. So it's infinity with a Y. So, INFINITY, and then SS4, which really is Susanna Smiles, and she has 4 kids. That's kind of where we came up with it. But infinityss4.org is where you go and apply.
How can the community help? I mean, do you take volunteers? Tell us a little bit about that aspect of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the hard part of there's challenges to go through. Like there's so much reward that comes out of it, but there's also challenges of kind of starting up a nonprofit. And those people that have done it know it. Like I didn't know what I was getting into until you get into it. And but yeah, I mean, volunteer wise, we can always use volunteers for our events. We can certainly talk about the events that we have. So always need volunteers for that. We have a selection committee that's, 100% volunteer. The board is volunteer. So we're always looking if there's people that are looking for a board seat, like we're taking that information as well. Like we'd like to funnel people through, or maybe we grow the number of board members. Like I'm not sure what that would look like. We also have a fundraising committee that we're just kind of in the process of truly standing up, because that takes a lot of time and effort and some skill sets, honestly, to fundraise as well. So yes, always looking for that type of help for sure.
All right, let's talk about fundraising and where you get your funds from to do this wonderful work in the community.
Yeah, so honestly, it's been a grassroots effort from the very beginning. When we started fundraising, boy, it seems longer than this, but I guess it was just the beginning of 2024 when we first started fundraising. So a little over a year and a half. And honestly, I remember Jennifer Nesbeck asking me like, well, what's kind of your goal and what you kind of want to accomplish in this first year or second year? And I mean, I was thinking we would be lucky to get to 40,000, 50,000, but in the first year we raised over 100,000, and then in our second year now in 2025, we're going to be well over that. I mean, we're going to raise over, more than 150,000. But I mean, that all goes directly to, families in need, and honestly, we're trying to keep up with that because as much as we're able to provide some funds to family, there's more waiting and going through the process.
Right.
So even though that may sound like a lot of money that we're raising, honestly, it takes more because there's more families that are needing help, and it kind of gains traction. Like this is only less than 2 years as far as since we first started raising monies and helping families, but it builds on each other, on itself, which is what we want. And we want the word to get out, and we want families to feel comfortable reaching out. I mean, that's something we found is it's hard for people to ask for help that's going through, having an illness. I have learned
Right.
that honestly, it comes sometimes down to their family or friends applying for them or speaking up for them because they don't want it to be someone else's problem, which I can respect. But I want people to feel comfortable with what we do and essentially how we do it. But I can certainly talk through some of the fundraising things if you'd like me to go down that path.
All right, I'm going to hit a home run. Bobby Witt. Let's talk about that. You
Yeah,
got Bobby Witt into your fundraising. I think
yeah,
folks would want to know about that.
yeah. So like I said, it's about relationships. It's about, meeting people along the way. And one of the things of who we met along the way with fundraising, and I'll talk about our events here in just a moment, but one of the great groups that we met is Community America Credit Union. That, they do some great work in the field or in the Kansas City. And, through some of the relationships that we've kind of developed over the years, we got to know Community America and what they do. And they started, appreciating what we were trying to accomplish as well. And so Bobby Witt Jr. works with Community America on a lot of things. And so Bobby was he has a camp every year that he has in June in Kansas City. And so he raises a lot of money, and very generous gentleman. He, donates all the proceeds from that. And what he wanted to do was to give it to a family in need that can impact them right away. So tons of credit to him. But where we came in was we were asked to help, since we have the selection committee that we talked about in the process, that, we helped to provide some potential families on a blind situation of just, this is situations that family in our community are going through. And I know him and his wife, vetted through those and worked through them. And so we just helped him through the process of finding the family. And then he selected that family. And in June, he invited us and obviously that family to come out to his camp. And when that camp was over, he asked us to come to the middle of the field, and he presented that family with the $50,000 check.
Wow.
So you can imagine the impact
that
provides to the family. So we were just a small part of something he was trying to accomplish as well, but we certainly appreciated that relationship.
We have a couple of minutes left. I want you to be able to tell us you've got a big fundraising thing coming up in the spring. If you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we've done over the years. We have a big event at Knuckleheads in July every year. So we've done that the last 2 years. That's been really successful. Obviously, you can learn about that on our website. Planning to do that next year. But we do, and we've been a part of Tom Stock. If you get familiar with Tom Stock, that we're been very grateful for what they've done for us as well. But we have a Texas Hold'em tournament that we decided to do, poker tournament coming up in February. So it's Saturday, February 7th. So it's the evening before the Super Bowl. So the evening before the Chiefs, are in the Super Bowl is what I'm hoping happens.
From your mouth to.
Yeah. And so it'll be at a high school in Lee Summit in their gym. We're actually partnering with Tom Stock this year on providing it. So we're looking to hopefully get a lot of people there that like to play poker. Or even if they don't and they want to just come and have, be a part of the event, like we'll have some other stuff going on there as well. We just want to get a lot of people there for a common goal and mission to raise some more money and to help get these to the families in need as quickly as possible.
Mark, you all are doing amazing work. You're young still. You're in your infancy as a nonprofit. I think those are the toughest of times in the very beginning. Till you get to some kind of a cadence, and then other things come up. But kudos to you and your family and friends and reaching out. We encourage our audience, please check them out. It's Infinity SS4.org, but yes. Infinity Susanna Smiles. Just what joy you're bringing, individual families, making a difference at that basic level. So just thank you for sharing your story, and we wish you the very best of luck.
Well, I appreciate the time, appreciate the ability to talk through it a little bit, appreciate all our volunteers and our donors, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us for Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by Charitable Communications, which is also a nonprofit. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on Casey Cares, you can go to our website, which is caseycaresonline.org, and spread the love. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio, and on Instagram at Casey Cares Online. And don't forget, Saturday mornings, you can catch us at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. And thank you for tuning in to Casey Cares.